Shirley with Spirit of Matter. This is a Mercury day and a Mars hour with Mars in Sagittarius, 13 degrees. And we just had the new moon. So moon is in 25 degrees Sagittarius on my midheaven, a degree from my midheaven. And the sun in 21 degrees from Sag. Mercury is 8 degrees Capricorn in the 12th house. Ascendant is ruled by Saturn. Midheaven is 0 degrees Sagittarius, so ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter in the 4th house in Taurus, Saturn in the 2nd house in Pisces, co-present with Neptune. On my breaking ascendant, 24 degrees Pisces. So, a little bit of honoring for the ruler of the day, which is Mercury. And a little bit of a Mercury blessing, Hermes blessing. May you be able to convey the message that you need that supports your well-being and your survival and your thriving, and listen to the messages and get teachings and skills and apply them for your well-being. And may you use this Mercury retrograde to get the skills, the conversation, the communication, the papers that create value, that stand the test of time, create communication, create trust, that stand the test of time. If you are in a position where you have to learn, your lives be convincing, and may your teachings be true. So this is inspired by the Orphic into Mercury. And we are now moving to talk about the synodic cycle of Neptune and the Sun in 2024, 2025. So as we are speaking, we are at the closing square of the Sun and Neptune. So the Sun will be moving just a couple of degrees to perfect this. And this is a closing square that happens from Sagittarius with Neptune in the end of Pisces. And the square, we know, is a tension, is a friction angle. Okay, the ruler of the hour, Mars, is also the ruler of squares. And so for the friction between the Sun and the Neptune, so Neptune is the blending of dimensions and realities, is where chemistry blends into both medicine and addiction, where escape from reality can both be genuinely healing and undermining. This is where alcohol can both be used for your herbal tinctures, okay, herbal Virgo, and teas even, and for intoxication and undermining behavior, okay, it's conscious altering substance. This is where your psychedelic trip can be both illuminating and revivifying, and the trauma you spend ages getting over for the things you've seen. This is where information leaks and dimensions of reality leak. This is where we can blend into one another, and that can be a joyous, intoxicating experience. It's highly spiritual and evolving. It can also be what people call psychic attack, or kind of like sage the house, what do I do next kind of experience. Neptune is where information leaks, and that can both be security sensitive information, like where are our freaking credit data or medical files. Neptune also rules medication, medicine. And but on the other hand, it can also mean that the information that leaks is actually of importance, and we are happy that this information leaked when you think about the WikiLeaks or Edward Snowden. So you also talk about spies, and it's both the spies that spy to do something malefic, or the spies that actually are whistleblowers, okay, like your broadcaster. So the Sun. So the Sun is basically the center of our little galaxy. Although not everything revolves around the Sun either. And the more we understand about the world, the more we can adjust our perspective. You used to think that the sun is standing still. It is not. As far as we know, it's kind of like swirling around the cosmos, and some of the planets swirling around themselves and around the sun. And we have the moons to swirl around. It's kind of like a very funny, swirly thingy. And the sun is also our source of light and energy. If you think about trees, I'm reminded of a Feynman skit when he said, well, trees, we think they're growing from the ground up, but they're actually growing from the sun because they get the light of the sun, and that allows them for the energy to do their kind of like chemical alchemy that they do. Okay, taking CO2 and turning it into oxygen. And so they're breathing. Okay, their pool of breathing is basically our air of breathing, our life source. So we get along very well. And they are actually growing from the sun. Okay, if the sun allows for this process to be, and this is our source of growth. Okay, the sun in astrology is also the kingdom that we are building. This is our personality and our confidence and our shine associated with the father. Although when we live in, let's say, having two parents of the same sex, then the father might have a vagina and the father might be the mother. Okay, so we need to take this level of complexity and intricacy into account when we interpret astrological delineation. And the sun is also, let's talk about a source of energy, a source of intelligence, what we build in the world, our confidence, our shine, and our creativity. Okay, the sun is very much associated with creativity as well. And this is where she connects with Neptune too. Both on the intelligence level, okay, there's intelligence, and then there are spies, which are part of intelligence. And then there is the light that shines, and there are the creations and the games of light that we do with Neptune. Okay, when we create a painting and we say, oh, the sun is purple today, and we call it impressionism, or we create a statue, and that statue kind of blends into itself or has an illusion around the perception of reality. So the sun is the source of intelligence, is containing these illusions, and Neptune as the source of the hidden intelligence is, of course, perceiving the sun as our galaxy perceives the sun, and we have an input and an output. Okay. Sun square Neptune means that the source of our creativity and kind of like solar intelligence is trying to blend with something that in a way that creates a friction. Okay, kind of like the planes above my head right now. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I woke up like this. That's funny. So, yeah. And there's a combat planes. There are combat planes kind of like disturbing the sound frequency of this conversation. So now at the closing square, okay, sun is also leadership. It's where we build our kingdom. It's also symbolizing of kings and queens, of the source of our creativity that is belonging to us. Okay, for example, sun is why it's also ruling the ego. It's ruling Leo, which rules the heart and one of the eyes. So to see clearly, to be with open heart, and to create. And when we create something with the sun, we usually expect to be entitled for the credit of this creation. Okay. Or even if we lead, let's say Sun Sagittarius, it could be the philosopher, the leader, the intelligent inspiration for conquest, because Sagittarius is also conquest of liberty and so on and so forth. We expect to have the statues of the people and associate the people, the ego, with the intelligence. When we talk about Neptune, so yeah, it's just going everywhere. When we create with Neptune, we are channeling, we are a vessel to something, and sometimes what we channel has a name, or you think about Bashar, not Bashar al-Assad, Bashar, yes, Abraham Hicks, or we think about, oh, we are channeling entity or entities, and we let them go through us like a vessel. And what we create is basically we are channeling a certain creation, and we can, for example, sell it or exchange goods around it. But it's also important to understand that there is an us, and then there is a something that is us and not us, that is go through us. The square between Sun and Neptune is where there is a tension, okay? For example, if you're a famous painter, what makes you famous painter is that eventually you connect with your eyes, with your heart, and you draw something and you paint something, and it is a great inspiration. And when you feel like I'm a great artist, is basically where something flows through you. Okay, reach a state of flow, and you basically are aware of the channeling and flow with the channeling, and aware or not aware. And then, of course, this is what makes you a larger-than-life artist. The friction is that you're channeling. Okay, so what makes you shine the most as you, okay, as this famous painter, this famous artist, is actually channeling something that's greater than you. Okay, and this is where we run into friction around this. If we talk about leadership, so the leadership that wants to conquest or to bring freedom or to liberate, okay, then if you are great at this task, you're basically doing something that's beyond you. Okay. It is now in the 11th house. Think about activism for liberation. And the square with Neptune is kind of like, oh, this greatest leader that was almost a prophet-like figure is actually letting, let's say, God or divinity flow through them. And there is a tension between the I'm everything and I'm nothing. Okay? Or also, I'm free and I'm free to surrender. In terms of the placements, okay, so yes, Pisces is on the Pisces, the Virgo place where Neptune calls to surrender something. And I talked about the Neptune, what happens when you have a Neptune square in your chart, or when you surrender even yourself or your legacy and so on and so forth. And Sun is more the Sun is calling to something, to conquest something, and then at the moment of surrender, Basically, you think about you trying to conquer somewhere and they just surrender. They go wu wei with you. Okay, they just surrender to you. Okay, how can you say I made a conquest when their strategy was to just surrender things, um, and there's just something very weird happening with the energy. Okay, you think about the person saying, oh, you won't imagine, we went there and everybody just surrendered, and they were so afraid of us, we just started doing, and they're like, they were strategizing to surrender to whomever. You came there and you saw them in surrender because this is the religion, their practice surrender, and you came there, so they surrendered because this is their practice. And so the sun doesn't get to fully shine in the light of Neptune. You cannot conquer the waters, you cannot conquest the Neptune, you cannot conquest the spirit. Okay, but this is the realm of where the sun tries to do that, and this is the closing square. So who does this sun represent? Well, you need to see also where you are, where is this sun? What is Leo in your natal chart? What is Sagittarius in your natal chart? Where is Pisces? But this is just one. I'm not talking about this particular aspect. There are great astrologers. You can watch Adam Ellenbass. I think he made like a couple of videos about this. And Victor, whom I haven't yet watched his talk about this, I'm sure you're going to have lovely insight. I want to talk about the whole synodic cycle that we are going to have in 2024. And I'm kind of running 2024 as well. Yeah, let's see if it goes from here. I'm kind of running 2024 very much as a how should I say it, a synodic cycle, a cycle within cycle. So you're not going to have a 2024, you're going to have a couple of synodic cycle of the important episodes, and then the monthly stuff are just going to drop like leaves from that tree. So the first we have is on March 17, 2024, we're going to be having the conjunction. Okay, now we have the closing square, the sun is finishing up something. We are beginning a new cycle on March 17 with the sun conjuncting Neptune in 27 degrees Pisces. The moon will apply to square. Okay, it will go through a square when this perfects, and it's a growing moon, so we're going to feel that. We're going to feel that happening. So Sun Neptune. It's in the beginning. Neptune is still in Pisces. So you think, okay, what could be different? It's only 3 degrees from where it is right now. Okay, it's the same. I believe it's even the same term of Pisces. And we're having another new beginning in what we consider malleable intelligences. Now, here is something you won't predict me to say, perhaps, but I do think it can have to do with AI, because there is a level where the intelligence of AI, okay, we already have the appliance sextile band by Uranus and Taurus. The intelligence, the artificial intelligence begins to blend into our intelligence. Okay, if the sun is our conscious intelligence and Neptune is the blending of dimensions, so we have a blending of intelligences. Okay, and as the sextile of Uranus applies on Neptune, we are already talking about nervous system related components that are beginning to build. We already have flexible robots. Okay, if you think about a plane flapping its wings, began to look into it, and look for what are the pros and cons of designing such a plane or an aircraft, but we're going to have more flexible, more bodacious robots, especially with Uranus and Taurus, okay? We are having robots that are to do with sensuality and how to experience sexual pleasure if you don't have a penis, like a person with a penis experiences, and the other way around. But we are also having this Neptune here that blends the intelligences with the solar intelligence. So I predict we might also try to have simulations of the sun. Okay, for example, if you want to live on another galaxy or a place where there is no life currently, then we can make a simulation of the sun. Can we create the sun? And the blending of realities is going to be paramount. The conjunction of Sun and Neptune gives us a channeler that is an artist or a leader, and a leader that is also a channeler, okay? If there is a rising leader at the time, and there can be, if it's the growing of the moon, it might mean that they are channeling their moves, okay? So Sun Neptune, yes, we might use microdosing or psychedelics to improve on our intelligence. It's nothing new. There may be a new advancement of this. And I kind of think about astrological magic. Okay, I have been working with the presence of a Temamuni tincture. And you can read about this at the Sphere and Sundry website. I don't get dividends from this, just purchased this because I found it so interesting. And I see that just being in the presence of it, or having this, or even when I ordered, I began to see the world differently. Okay, have like a very mild, I want to say psychedelic because I never tried psychedelics, but I just look at trees, they catch my attention. And it just it makes a difference to the way that I see the world. I haven't worked with like the moon separately or the sun separately, so I wouldn't know necessarily that. But I predict that even when it comes to, let's say, astrological magic or other types of magic or psychedelics, people might want to blend in with the intelligence that they are using, and so to consume psychedelics might not be enough. They might want to have like a talisman or something where they blend into another way of being completely. So I believe we're going to have like another phase of that happening. If you consider, the movement into space, the necessity to create another sun, perhaps sometimes in the future, to experiment with that, both on a spiritual level, and the what is natural, okay? Because if we put magic into a tincture or into a blend of herbs and we consecrate something, so is this thing natural, and so on and so forth. We may ask these questions philosophically, but we may apply those practices and blend in with that which alters our consciousness. While Sun conjunct Neptune in itself is usually not more than a psychedelic trip on a mundane level or on a personal level. It's like, oh, this is where you might be wanting to, I don't know, do a ritual or have a sun god or something like this. There can also be a shining light on spies. We might find some missing people, create a world into which they can return, or do something around it. And such ritual is actually very recommended because Pluto is still going to be in orb for the sextile in 1 degree Aquarius, and the moon is going to go over it. It's going to square this, so we might be able to manifest. Should you do talisman? I think you can. Okay, it's experimental, please. Okay, I'm not a professional magician or whatever. But I think you might find a good election around 17th of March or perhaps 16th of March to do a Sun-Neptune talisman, okay, wherever you live. And for that, depending on how, because this is not something you will find in the Picatrix, I believe, because they work with traditional planets. But Neptune is related to Poseidon. Jupiter is going to be in 14 degrees Taurus. Yes, there is a sextile between Jupiter and the Saturn, but a separating one. I don't know if this will harshly affect, and Neptune is co-present with Saturn, so it's not a clear Neptune that we had when Saturn was in Aquarius, but still, if you don't want to wait 3 years and you want to say, okay, what does the Sun Neptune do? You might want to actually create something talismanic, and again, preferably you can create it like on a note or something that you can later dissolve or discard. And you probably want an election that pinpoints this pinpoint Jupiter or the hour of Jupiter, so you can get the Neptune going. If you get like the day of Jupiter and the hour of the Sun, or the hour of the Sun and the day of Jupiter, wherever you are in the world. And yes, the Moon begins to, it will square it from Gemini, and then will move to Cancer. Of course, you would need a Gemini because you want the Moon applying to this, or you can try to just do a Sun, kind of like a Sun talisman, and not care so much about this Moon because the Sun shining there. But I think if you can get it with the Moon and the Moon applying, Mercury as well, Mercury is in Aries. It's not retrograde. It does apply to Rahu, so you might want to take that into consideration. But other than that, it's not the clear-cut Neptune Sun that you can ever get, but it's not impossible to kind of like have a note and then try to see what does this energy do. Okay, what can Moon Sun do for you is maybe to just to study this more, to have rituals more. This is my hypothesis. I never worked with such a thing, and to explore this realm. Perhaps it can be a bit psychedelic. Yes, what herbs might you want to use? Well, you think about the Sun. I think cinnamon might be good. You might even want to consecrate a Bach remedy, kind of like a rescue remedy. Bach flowers, which are associated kind of like with alcohol and homeopathic, is very much associated with Neptune. So if you want to kind of like prepare Bach flowers, but not for sale for other people, because this is crazy. Okay, this is something that you try for you. You can also do like water, even cinnamon water with, of course you want something strong like a tincture or cinnamon tincture, kind of blend in the Sun. And for Neptune, I think it's just the element of the alcohol or the water should be okay. Some people might use some hallucinogenic stuff. I don't know how to work with this, but if you're taking like microdose and the psychedelics, you might consecrate some of that and use it in a talisman way. Probably going to be good for creativity if you want to write sci-fi, if you want to experiment, and however or wherever you want to take this. On a mundane level, we are talking about a cycle that still begins when Neptune is in Pisces. The shining light on spies, on missing people, myth busting regarding addictions, changes the way we use substances or consciousness altering substances, changes AI and science as well, especially the science to do with waves, not so much frequencies, but more like waves as a whole, and the effect of waves on us, sound waves, because of Jupiter in Taurus. So we might be looking into sound waves. We might be receiving sound waves even from Neptune. Okay, so trying to decipher messages maybe, but some non-verbal sound waves. Okay, this is something that can be here. Now let's go to let's just do any aspect that is easier. And I think, yeah, so before we have the square, we have the Sun sextile. Oh, we have the closing sextile on January 16, 2024. Again, the closing sextile is going to be from Capricorn, of course. So this is before the new cycle. So this is a closing one. Sun is going to be very close to Pluto. Well, I believe it is more about shedding light on the role of the plutocracy in espionage and the role of espionage in the plutocracy. We might actually be exposing some spies that were double spies or that were working for the plutocracy and what their hidden interests may be, okay, because of the sextile. Or we have spies that expose leaders, and especially when it is hidden, or how the hidden occult or the hidden elite societies kind of rule over our finances and conscious and spiritual kind of battles and so on and so forth, and how they make one hand with another, or maybe the medical, the psychology, the psychiatry, and the spiritual and the religious together with the plutocracy. Okay, for example, we have, for example, Scientology is very much resistant psychiatry. Yes, but it's also a place where people can get into situation that to acknowledge the fact that there was some psychic attack or psychological abuse that can land a person at the psychiatric ward is also important, but they have a place where they help to release people from being at the psychiatric ward unwillingly. So there is just something there where you can have like the same organization at all ends of the circle, where the activism is also owned by those who perpetuate the problem. Not saying that for Scientology necessarily, but definitely we have some issues to do with the medicine on a more holistic level and the plutocracy. Okay, so and the activism is also run by the plutocracy, and this is where the spies could actually serve to create a facade of leaking information where it's not actually leaking valuable information, where this information we can do something about, and so on and so forth. So then we will have the conjunction with Neptune, and the opening sextile with Neptune is going to happen on 20 May. Okay, so 16 January we have the closing sextile. It's going to be highly political. The conjunction is going to be in Pisces. Except for the fact that Sun rules leaders, it's not going to be particularly political. It's going to be more scientific, religious, philosophical. And then the opening square on May 20 is the opening sextile is happening from Taurus. So Sun is going to be on an anaretic degree of Taurus, and so is Neptune. This is a special time. The moon is going to apply the next day to this sextile. You might want to capture Neptune, okay? You might want to capture Neptune perhaps 2 days before, when Neptune is going to be in Virgo. It's going to be opposing, where the moon is going to be in Virgo, it's going to be opposing this Neptune. We do have the moon with a lot of fortune on the 18th degree in Libra, so that is, yes, fascinating in the background to see what will be then. But the Neptune on the anaretic degree in general, and also Saturn in 18th degree. Okay, this is going to be very interesting. You might want to capture this Neptune on the anaretic degree of Pisces, because we know it's going to be a couple of centuries before we'll catch Neptune in Pisces ever again. Again, highly psychedelic. If you can get Saturn to move off of the 18th degree for the sake of this capturing, is going to be the best, which is not going to be difficult, I believe, and to capture Neptune on the anaretic degree. Those of you who can do that, you might want to consecrate like a metal or something that lasts, and you might want to make sure you have the place to put it where it might not like affect you all that much, if it is even possible. But we definitely don't want to say goodbye to Neptune in Pisces, on the anaretic degree of Pisces, without having done some sort of a consecration for the generations to come. The sextile with Taurus on the anaretic degree. Well, it's difficult to tell what it will bring. It's a harmonious aspect. So we have leaders of Taurian countries channeling the future. Okay, as you can see, Neptune is very removed from the physical reality, but with the Sun in Taurus, we do have an incarnation into physical reality. It can be a good time for, let's say, sensual pleasure. That is a bit exploring other dimensions. And the Sun is going to be with Jupiter. Okay, it's going to be after the Jupiter-Uranus. So Jupiter is also the ruler of Neptune right now. So it looks very fascinating. But Venus is going to be with Algol. So we're going to have a lot of mixtures. Venus is going to be in Taurus, but it's going to be with Algol. And you're going to have a lot of mixture of effects here. I think in any consecration that you do, if you want to capture like the sextile, please honor Algol as well, consult with Algol around this. But all in all, I think there's something quite grand about this, and even beautiful. So there is a blending of philosophy and leadership, to do with land and sensuality and connections, sisterhood. But then Venus with Algol on a mundane level, we know this is not the best. Okay, we need to turn to Algol. We need to speak with Algol on how to magically address this. Because Algol is very protective magically, yet if we take a look at the delineation of the fixed star, we see things that are horrid. So this is where we want to tune to Algol magically, even if we are doing Jupiter Taurus or a Neptune or a Sun Neptune. So channelings, intelligences that are compatible for a couple of centuries forward, going to be in place with this one. And the work, we can do the work with Algol magically in a way that is capturing the spirit of Neptune. And Algol was hurt by Poseidon, I think. Was it Poseidon? I think yes. And here we have a sextile here. So that might be something we would want to address in our rituals. It can be a fascinating time, perhaps not when Venus is right on Algol, if we can get that to release some music, or kind of like spiritual vibes, and so something creative. Statues are very much, I think, statues can be in place to do at this time. Yes, all in all, it's not like a hard aspect. It's not something terrible. It's just something that we can enjoy But we must remember the co-presence of Saturn there on the 18th degree of Pisces, which according to Nicola Stoyanovich is not a blessed degree. Okay, we know that the exaltation degree, if it follow Christopher Warnock for the Sun in Aries, is 18 degree. Okay, anything around 18 degree, because what they said 19 would be from 18:0 minutes to 18:59 minutes. So we have a contradiction here. But we also know that Nicola Stoyanovich, with his degree theory, worked with a Placidus house division and a tropical zodiac. Okay, so we're working with tropical zodiac here, but uh, um, you might want to be cautious when Saturn is tropically on the 18th degree of Pisces when you try to do something Neptunian that will last. Now, the square. The square is going to be on 20 June. Okay, 20 June 2024. We have the opening square with the Sun on the anaretic degree of Gemini. So the good news is that Neptune is going to be sitting pretty on the 29th degree for quite some time. So you don't have to be in a hurry. You have plenty of time to work with it. Okay, and right now Saturn is on the 19th degree. And still a separate term, a separate phase even. This is another time where you could be thinking to capture this Neptune, especially when the moon kind of hits it from Sagittarius. That might be a perfect time, if nothing else stands in the way, to capture this Neptune. So the opening square is going to be with the Sun on the anaretic degree of Gemini with Neptune in Pisces. So you think about all the sci-fi novels where you talk about the future city, okay? Or the cosmic galactic city, the cosmic galactic society, channelings to do with that. And you can understand how the removed from reality wisdom of Neptune and the city life can square or be in tension. We might be marketed the 15-minute city as something idyllic, and that can be, of course, a high disillusion. Okay, where you lose your card and you cannot get home, and so on and so forth. People might say that about the key. People did not used to lock doors all their life, okay? We did not lock doors all our lives. There are many villages where you wouldn't lock doors. So having this place where you can kind of like have to lock the door and lose the key, or that your smart home is also surveillance home. And so with Neptune and the Sun squaring from this place, we might get a little bit of marketing of smart cities with some performers, some advertisement people, or some business people that are going to market us a lot of things in a way that is highly idyllic. You're going to be able to do this, we're going to find solution for all the homeless, and forget to mention that we're having a democide, so we're going to kill the most of humanity. And even then, surveillance houses is not a housing solution, but then a lot of games and trickery are going to happen around this time. So June 2024, okay, 20 June 2024 is where we might want to look out for fantasies that were being sold. And by this time, unfortunately, many people will be aching for housing, transportation, technology, and civil society to connect with people, and that might be highly, or a get-rich-quick schemes, and that might be highly potent or ripe moment for Neptune to come by and kind of sell us in on something. It's actually we're going to disillude the people who will kind of buy this idea, but some people might not even have a choice because Neptune is outer planet and they can be a fated loss. There can also be a fated loss of a city if it is of solar significance. So if it's a city of artists and performers, I don't know, LA, I don't know the chart, thinking like in LA, or if it is a city where some leaders live, or societal leaders, more like stuff like that, or certain mayors, they're kind of like a leader of the cities. Some technological leaders may experience certain loss. And it doesn't mean that they die or go missing. It's very rare cases this can be, but there's just some loss to do with that. Okay, the square is more the signification of a loss rather than some creative art. The creative art is going to help us to deal with a certain type of loss, and that is um, June 2024. So the next one up, we're going to have the trine. And the trine arrives at July 22, 2024. Okay? The trine arrives from Saturn, from Cancer, okay, the 29th degree, that now is receiving Neptune, the Neptune warmth or the Neptune wealth. And so this is a time where Sun Cancer, we kind of think about nourishment, patriotism, the tribe, and Neptune is something that usually goes viral. So this is where we're going to have leaders of tribe that go viral. Okay, tribal leaders go viral. This is where we can have booming of, let's say, cooking shows, or you think about like the nude cuisine or something like this. But here, not necessarily, although Neptune is about eroticism, but here it's more like a lot of shows or series or even photos and art to do with cooking, with food, but also with the moon itself. Okay, well, the moon is in Aquarius here, but as it perfects, but there can definitely be celestial arts. Okay, Cancer also rules this type. Seafood on the rise, so any restaurants to do with seafood might be a good time to launch, as the moon is as this is applying perhaps. As for channelings and premonitions, so people that have something there, like ascendant sun or moon, may have, so it's a good time for premonitions, coping with grief or loss by receiving some nourishment or providing nourishment. All of these things can be. What more? Cancer. Yes, so we said nourishing, we said seafood, we said restaurants, we said the emotions, okay? So we can have leaders that are attuned with their people. Yes, and Pluto is still opposing this. Okay, it's still applying to oppose Pluto. So we have the trine to Neptune, but we also have, it's not a separate synodic cycle from the Pluto synodic cycle with the Sun. So this Neptune is kind of giving us alternative reality to the oppressive reality that is helping us to cope, but also perhaps to manifest that nourishing alternative reality. The play between the tribal and the viral, okay, it's not even global, it's galactic, is going to actually work. So you can have, for example, the way we do for my tribe, I want that to be available for every tribe, or the way, I don't know, we establish this regime in our country. We want all people to be able to establish that regime. But this is where this can be both good and bad. So this is a time where the Cancer archetype is usually more about the nuclear family and anybody else, and so it can sometimes, a cancer the animal can eat the cancer. Okay, it's a cannibalistic animal. But this is where the cancer can perhaps open up to, or is more available to the cancer to open up to more oceanic views and not to be afraid of the life in the ocean. Okay, because the cancer lives in the ocean and they eat their own kind. And here, with this trine between the Sun and Neptune on the anaretic degree, we can view of cancers that are not afraid of life in the ocean, that perhaps receive the wisdom of the fish and the flow that kind of allows them to be compassionate to those who are not of the family, and to get a little bit out of the survivalistic mode into a more warm and nurturing mode for not only the nuclear family. So that can be a great blessed aspect to have. The opposition with Pluto might mean that the various types of oppression might still take place even if the power is with the people. Okay, so this is the trine, and then the square. Yes, the lists of squares. No, here the square with Neptune is on September 21, 2024. Not the square, the opposition. Oof. The opposition, this is on the 28th degree. So this is with Neptune retrograde. Okay. And this is coming from Virgo. I believe the themes of medicine, trade, care, and the illusions around informations. Okay, what if Virgo is the author? Okay, some Virgo is literally the author of a book. Okay, unless it's like your third house, but even then it can be a book of poems or something like that. And so the poet and the writer, the author, the fiction writer, and the non-fiction writer blend into each other in a way that makes it difficult, because sometimes when you write a book you want to, let's say, expose information and have people believe in that and not just taking that as a story. Or your way to do that would be through a story, but there's a conflict between something being fiction and non-fiction in a book, but also in a herb and in a pill and in a medical product. Okay, so the chemist versus the alchemist, and they are having a quarrel with Neptune retrograde being pinpointed. So we are reflecting on the nature of Neptune, of sham medicine, shaman medicine, and there is a discourse here where both parties need to protect themselves and fend for themselves, and kind of like there is information leaking. So what is real and what is not in medicine, in fiction, and also in economy and in trade. Think about kind of like the monkey business. Uh, uh, is the is Pfizer more of a monkey business than your local psychic shop at LA? And both sides of the pole, there are shams, and then there are people who actually practiced and know what they're doing. They can also be a collision of applied science and philosophical understandings, because the nature of Jupiter and Mercury, with the Sun representing the guru of some sort. Okay, so the guru of medicine, or the guru of chemistry, or the guru of is just an author, or or the guru of business and trade. Okay, if you think about rich father, poor father, you read the book, then you see they tell you to put everything through the trust. Sorry, that's what they don't tell you. They tell you gain from debt and so on. So they don't tell you they put everything through the trust. So what you don't get by reading Rich Father, Poor Father is the fact that none of that is on your name. Okay, you're just going to take debt for which you're gonna lose everything. Because if you cannot pay the rent, neither can your tenant. And if your incentive to be a house owner is, I don't want to be screwed up, I want to be on the side that screws, then you're soon to find out that the side that screws is being constantly screwed up, and that's how you have houses available to screw people up. The business of screwing is not healing. Okay, you gotta learn how to make love. So this is what I predict for this. So we have trade, we have business, we have medicine, and we have people of the word, people of the fiction and non-fiction. So it's all in all a very interesting time to be alive, because it's important, to remember that it's not like you go to the medical doctor that can't do anything. You go to the sham doctor, and the sham doctor is useful, okay? But sometimes you go to the sham doctor, it's not useful, and then you go to the medical doctor, and it's like, oh, this helps, okay? Those things are going to be existing as well, and it's going to be a huge discussion over them, and it's going to make it very difficult to standardize anything and still remain true to something, including your bank account. So the next up is going to be the closing trine, which is going to happen on November 19, 2024. And the closing trine. Oh, I forgot to say about the opposition. All the psychedelic stuff, the consciousness altering substance, okay? Definitely there's going to be a conflict around those. Did you write this book by the effect of AI or by the psychedelics? The old ancient argument is going to replay itself in a new variation on the canon. And the closing trine is happening when Neptune is retrograde at 27 degrees Pisces, with the Sun in 27 degrees Scorpio. So this is where is the poison the medicine? Where it's a poisonous relationship, a shamanistic journey, or a psychedelic drug, or shrooms, okay? Especially the psychedelics, or there's the shroom stuff, but also essential oils. Okay, I'm an aromatherapist, and there's a lot of people think, oh, this is natural. Well, people died consuming a spoonful of essential oil. They managed to do that. And this is why you cannot ingest essential oil in Britain and other places. There is absolutely must. No. But other places, it's like if there are some gut infections where taking a drop of essential oil in a carrier oil, a spoonful of carrier oil, is going to kill the bacteria, but it's not going to kill you, and you still have to make changes in your life for that not to be returning. So we're going to be having a lot of stuff like that, but because this is the trine, so we're not going to have a lot of like the opposition, okay, the contradiction, okay. Is this herb safe? Oh, I heard people die consuming, I don't know, a tincture of, I don't know, lavender. Okay, it's like, yeah, if you take a whole bottle, you might, unalive yourself. But isn't like the drugs that we sell is pretty the same as the dosage? Well, do you have something to tell you the dosage other than how many mice enter into a human body. And we're going to have these conversations. But on the trine, the closing trine, it's kind of like, oh, when nothing else works, you can go to your own, sex witch and receive a potion that may or may not have her secretion in it. It's going to do the job. It's like, nobody's going to tell you that. But if you remove the taboo, a little bit of menstrual blood mixed with a little bit of sugar. And when I say sugar, where is the, yes, Venus, Capricorn. So sugar. Venus is sweet, Capricorn is herbs, agriculture. And so mixed with a little bit of this and a tiny bit of dragon blood, and then you drink it or you potion it up, and then you see that you have this, that you can conceive a baby. And it's gonna fucking work. That's the whole. It's like, even if it won't work, it has been a funny thing to try. So this is where we have an absolute, an absolute nice combination between is it real, is it not, and the funny thing that Scorpio does to heal itself. So while if that was like a square, the root cast is the poison, the medicine, but here we're kind of like, does it even matter? Okay, so, and Scorpio rules over iron, blood, our sexual organs, Neptune. Think about the painting with menstrual blood, kind of that craft, and how that heals fertility. Okay, how that heals the need to create of the womb, and so on. So like this really fucking works. So this happens on 19 November, so it's gonna be winter in most places, but you can still give it a try. It's gonna be lovely. Other than that, I don't really see a problem, except that the Sun is already opposing a retrograde Uranus on Algol. So that is another problem. So now we're getting into the time of in humanity where the sextile to Pluto and trine to Neptune is the opposition to Uranus. And so you can hardly get a good a good thing going where all of them are okay, because we had it with Neptune, Pluto, but now we're already at the time in humanity where there's always that, there's always that Uranus, there's always that Neptune, there's always the three of you, okay? So Neptune and Pluto are kind of like, we are fine today, and Uranus goes like, I'm not. And that's just the way humanity is going to look like for the next decade. We just have to deal with it. So is it of talismanic quality? No, unless you want Uranus retrograde on Algol on your neck. So it's not so much for talismans, but it's all in all a very nice closing trine, where like when all else fails, paint with your menstrual blood. So that is that's the way I see it. But then the Uranus can be like, oh, we need that menstrual blood for the building of our city, or the ritual that we're about to have, and kind of like, can we call Algol to remedy this Uranus, please? So yes. Anything else? The closing square. So the last in the synodic cycle of Neptune in 2024 is 18 December, and that is the closing square. We remember 2025, we're still going to have the sextile and then the conjunction. And so Sun is in the closing square from 27 degrees Sagittarius, while Neptune is direct. Okay, so this is it's going to kind of feel, when you talk about studies, when you talk about intelligence, when you talk about leaders, it's going to kind of feel like, well, a month ago that was okay. Why is it not okay right now? okay? Or maybe you have been consuming menstrual blood. It's kind of like, oh, that can be unhealthy for you. Or there was the time where people were using menstrual blood on their face. It's like a face mask. And then there was kind of like science cropping in, kind of like, well, it's not that clean after it dries. So, and you can get a problem because like there are a lot of healthy stuff, but you have to extract them from the unhealthy stuff, and you definitely don't want to regularly be putting that on your skin. Although I could get like people, attacking that. So that can be like one of the situations, like a month ago, that was fine. Why is it not okay right now? And the why is it not okay has to do with where philosophy meets praxis, because Jupiter is going to be retrograde in Gemini, and Mercury is going to be in reverse relations in Sagittarius, okay? So this is where between religion and the practice of religion, philosophy or theory and the praxis of this theory, you can get a lot of confusion. The closing square is just adds to this confusion. You're not going to get a lot of valid information of either way. So anything you try to affirm, to solidify, the ruler of Neptune and Saturn is retrograde. Mercury is in Jupiter's sign. Jupiter is in Mercury's sign. This is more kind of like the switching of roles. If you think about the the way that people used to live, where like the husband goes to work and it's always a cisgender husband, and the wife stays at home and it's a cisgender wife, and she does the laundry, takes care for the children, and she think, what is he doing that so he goes to work? Okay, fine, I'm doing all these things here. And then the husband kind of thinking, what has she have to do? She sits at home all day. Okay. And then there's one day where they are, say, for a week or so, for a month or so, they're switching up the roles. Okay. And she has to go to his work, and he has to stay at home and be a stay-at-home dad. And this is where they get the switching up of the roles. Okay. What we don't yet get is them meeting up, okay, like the conjunction or the trine, they're meeting up to discuss the experience, okay? They're just at this situation where the husband is like, shit, this home gets messy and dirty way quicker than I thought. And the wife is like, the fuck do they want from me at work? Okay? So that is pretty much what we have when we have one planet at the two planets in the opposite detrimental space for them. And the sun here squaring Neptune makes things illusory. So our life philosophy, or the way we translate our philosophy to praxis, or our praxis to philosophy, is highly illusory. Any theories, if you need to close a thesis right now, get sick, please. Take something that makes you sick and don't do it, because you're not going to yield anything scientific, or unless you just want to do it for beer, you don't like, or don't have your name on it after you sign it. I don't know. It's probably not possible, but this is not where you want to sign your masterpiece. Remember, okay, it's 18 December 2024, so around December 2024. Now let's continue to the entire cycle, and we get transits, sun, any aspect, and now we get the final sextile with Neptune. It's January 17, 2025, which is going to happen from Capricorn, again 27-degree sextile. So this is where, after the switching up of the roles that we had with Sagittarius, we try to make something of that 27-degree Neptune. Okay, and suddenly things do make sense. We can kind of like sift we can either enjoy the illusion, or we can understand how imagination is vital for intelligence and achieve something that perhaps stands the test of time. But Saturn is also in Neptune sign, in Pisces. and ruling Mercury as well. So conjuncting Venus. So we have a reality check that reminds us that imagination is important, whether it's in science, in creativity, in leadership. We might think, oh, what can this actor do for politics? And turns out they can do more than you have expected, and so on and so forth. And the final conjunction that closes and opens another cycle will be on March 20, 2025. And this one happens on the 29th degree. Okay, so again, Sun Neptune on the anaretic degree here in this one, with the moon trining it from Sagittarius, from the beginning of Sagittarius, the end of Scorpio, and Jupiter is still on the 14th degree in Gemini. This is an important point because this is the last we're going to see of Neptune in Pisces, probably. Okay, we're going to have probably maybe another retrograde in ingress, but and it's also where together with Ketu. Okay, Ketu is going over this spot as well. So we're going to have the Ketu Neptune, not Ketu Rahu. Sorry, this is all meta. Rahu is going to be with Neptune. So all eyes on Neptune. Okay, all eyes on Neptune. The role of illusion, the role of what's granted to us, the role of, we're going to have a lot of art, even if AI induced as well, that is going to stand the test of a millennia even. Really, really ideal stuff, really, really, blending into the cosmos, okay? But then, unfortunately, there are going to be a lot of people missing because Neptune also rules missing people. And Rahu there literally means many people go missing. So this is also something to take into account. Although usually Rahu is not about people going missing, it's usually kind of Ketu, we're letting go, people dying. But these people going missing, they can be, unfortunately, their stories might accompany us for a very long time. So Sun Neptune might be perhaps the coping with this and the starting of another cycle. And the anaretic degree is a degree of completion. So we might also look back to anything to do with Pisces. So Christ consciousness, the beginning Christianity, the fall of Christianity. Okay, unfortunately, why am I saying unfortunately? Because it doesn't mean that the next best thing is going to be the next best. But Christianity is very much associated with Pisces. Neptune leaving, it means that they will have a renewal of how we see Pisces. And we're going to have a renewal of Christianity, but we're also going to have a lot of people missing. And this is something that I don't think is so fortunate, all in all. And this Rahu Neptune will open up the gate of wealth of spiritual experiences. But we know that on a mundane level, there's a lot of things and people going missing. And a lot of spies. Okay, kind of, and Saturn is bringing up the next Saturn-Neptune conjunction. We think about the spies in communism. It's not something that great, okay? But then, yes, Neptune Sun is going to be on an anaretic degree, absolutely art that will stand the test of time, even for millennia to come. Can absolutely occur. Being known as missing, unfortunately, is something that many people might experience. Or being known after you die can be as well. Because this Rahu with Neptune can simply mean that this is, meeting death and dissolving from this incarnation. So that can be happening with Rahu as well because of the Pisces and Neptune here. Okay. myth is going to change. Our myths are going to dramatically change with this one. And again, it might not happen in a day, but definitely, around eclipses, and this is probably the sheet of an eclipse, we are going to have these changes to our myth, changes to our religions, changes to our drugs and medicines, to our art. So, and the presence of Saturn again puts in things that stand the test of time, even within kind of like this incarnation. But Neptune brings a beyond life. Okay, there can also be illusions around longevity, and is longevity achieved? Is this person dead or alive? Unfortunately, even with Saturn Pisces, Saturn Neptune is a lot about, is this person dead or alive? Not just on a conspiracy level, but genuinely. Okay, so that is the closing conjunction, that is also an opening conjunction 2025, has a lot of mixed things. Okay, grief, tremendous loss, isolation, people not knowing, going missing, or unfortunately kidnapped. At the same time, it also means great experiences spiritually, art that is beyond this world, and so on and so forth. So that has been the synodic cycle of Neptune Pisces. This is where, things just happen on different degrees, and pretty much the next one will already involve Neptune in Aries. Okay, so going to be a change in the outer planet. Now we are culminating the presence of Neptune in Pisces. There's more that needs to be said about this, but for now, this constitutes an entire episode, and leave you at this for now, and we can all process it later.